Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
He needs care and treatment.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Guarantee Health Solutions on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Is this a great country or what?
Locking down the middle of the day, live from the Raising Cane studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Raising Cane studio downtown in the capital city on this Monday. Means we're brought to you by Guarantee Health Solutions. Hope your work week's off to a good start. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Jordan Kitchens, Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos, and we got a whole weekend to react to. We'll get to some Saints talk in hour number 2. LSU basketball, kind of quiet, but the football team got a big commitment who can play some basketball. We'll talk about that as well as LSU baseball against South Carolina. That's where we're going to start. We're going to get this show rolling. I don't have a pen in my right hand, and I feel like I might as well not even have clothes on at this point. I always have a pen in my hand, and I realized when we started, both producers are holding up a pen. I'll get through the 15-minute segment without a pen. It just feels really weird. I always have a pen in my hand and just realized that I don't. But let's get the show started anyway with our opening drive.
Welcome to the big league.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive, presented by Fabry Chevrolet GMC in St. Francisville.
Well, LSU had to have a sweep. But LSU got a sweep. It started a little later than was scheduled. Had to play a double dip on Saturday, 18 innings. Tigers got it done. Beat Missouri in game 1 behind William Schmidt. That was a 6-1 final. The nightcap was a 7-3 LSU win that LSU really controlled starting in the middle innings of the game. Gave up 2 runs there in the 9th when it was 7-1, but controlled it and won 7-3. And then took care of business on Sunday with a 7-0 win. I have a lot of thoughts on this, and we're going to get through them over the course of about 30 minutes here to start the show. But ultimately, two things are front and center here. You had to have a sweep against a bad baseball team, and you got it. And the second part of that is true. South Carolina's terrible. They're just awful. They don't play defense well. They cannot swing the bats. They don't hit for power. They're not very athletic. Their talent on the mound is minimal. It's a bad roster. They made a poor decision with their head coaching hire 2 years ago, and they're paying for that because they just don't have a lot of talent. And that's part of the story, but they have been feisty at times. They took it to Texas in a game. They've been fairly competitive in some weekends. They dusted Missouri in 3 games, but they're not good. And that, to me, was very, very evident in watching these 3 games. I don't believe that LSU, turned some corner or did something, out of body that created a turnaround for this season. I think LSU played solid baseball. I think their opponent was very weak. And so everything that I say is rooted in that because they were playing a team that's just not very good. However, they got some things done over the weekend that they really needed. The story on Monday of last week when I got home from Starkville was pretty simple. When Kason Evans got scratched, and in the second game, William Schmidt gave you 4 innings, you're asking basically, and I use air quotes here, the bullpen, even though, of course, Gavin Guidry did start a game, Marcos Paz did start a game, but I'm kind of counting those guys as bullpen arms. Your bullpen had to cover 23 innings in Starkville. That's just not tenable. You had to use guys multiple times. You had to try to get linked out of some guys. You're switching for matchups all the time in the 4th inning. You were asking too much of your staff. This weekend, your 3 starting pitchers, 8 innings. William Schmidt, for the first time in conference play, finished the 6th inning. And I thought he threw the ball very well. I thought he commanded his fastball very, very well. That was indicative in the fact that he only walked 1. He did use his breaking ball to get punch-outs. He recorded 7 strikeouts. He was at just north of 60% strike ratio, which isn't brilliant, but it's good. He got up to 97 pitches and really handcuffed a bad South Carolina and took control of that game and ate some innings in the first game of an 18-inning day. You had a lead. Grant Fontenot came in. He threw the ball over the plate as well. He finished 3 innings. So you had 2 guys give you length. Starting length of 6 innings, bullpen length of 3 innings for Fontenot, not matchup, constantly switching. I liked that. It was effective. LSU held South Carolina to 1 run on 6 hits and won the ball game. You come back out in the nightcap, and Marcos Paz delivered what I think was probably his best outing as an LSU Tiger. He got through 5 innings against South Carolina. He did walk 3 guys, but I didn't think the command was a big issue. He was really good throwing the breaking ball. He had 8 strikeouts in those 5 innings. I thought he did an excellent job in the nightcap on Saturday. I am encouraged by his development over the course of time. They're still taking that slow approach with him because you're coming off of an injury. But I thought he was really, really good, and he gave you 5 innings. You were in control of the game at that point. You turned things over to the bullpen, and you got a couple of really good innings from Devin Sheeran. He went 4, gave up 2 runs there in the 9th, but you had an error on the third baseman, and then there was a pass ball, so not a disastrous outing by any stretch for Sheeran. In fact, he was pretty good. He was credited with the save. 4 innings of 1-run baseball, that'll work. And in that game, you go with Paz and Sheeran, and you only walked 4 guys. You hit 1, 5 free bases. Not great, but better than they have been. And that was a theme for the entirety of the weekend, where LSU just didn't give South Carolina a lot. They only gave them 8 free bases on the weekend, which is significantly better than what you had done at times over the course of the weekends. You did over 20 last week against Mississippi State. In Nashville in the SEC opener, you gave 24 free bases over 3 games. You tighten that up in this game, and of course, you know you're going to get that from Zach Cowan. Zach Cowan lived ahead in the count on Sunday. I thought he was fantastic. He threw strike 1 to 15 of the 20 hitters that he faced in the game. He only went to, make sure I have this correct, he only went to 1 3-ball count in the entire start, and he went 6 innings. He went to 3 balls 1 time. He walked that guy. That's pitching to contact against a weak team. You had a day where it was warm, but the wind was not blowing out, and you have a team that doesn't hit for a lot of pop, and Cowan just pounded the strike zone, and he got you through 6 shutout innings on Sunday, which was fantastic. You were in complete control of the game, and you hand the ball over to Garcia, who did give up a couple of hits and a walk, but got a big strikeout, got out of that inning without giving up any runs, and then Gavin Guidry finished the deal, throwing that hard breaking ball, got 3 strikeouts in 2 shutout innings as well. That was the way, ideally, a pitching staff looks. That's the ideal way to churn through a weekend. Get length from your starters. You got 6 innings from Schmidt, 5 from Paz, 6 from Cowan. Right there, you're talking about 17 innings over a 3-game set, as opposed to basically 4 last week. I know that I'm cherry picking there because I'm counting Paz as a bullpen guy in Starkville, and I'm counting Paz as a starter, but you understand the point I'm making. That your rotation without Case and Evans gave you the length that you were looking for, and then because your offense played from ahead, which you haven't done almost at all. You did for 3 games in Starkville, and you got the lead with 3 runs in the first inning in all 3 games, but you've played from behind for most of the SEC weekends. You play from ahead. You play from a comfortable margin ahead. You're able to get some more length out of your bullpen guys. You're not trying to finesse every single matchup in a razor-thin margin game, and that taxes your bullpen to do that. Instead, you play with the 4-run lead. You play with a 6-run lead. You can give some guys a little bit longer leash. I think you might have pulled Garcia in the Sunday game if that's a 1-run game, because he did give up the 2 hits, and he did give up a walk, and he did create some traffic, and that's where you might go to a different arm if it's a really tight game, but it wasn't a really tight game. You scored 2 in the 3rd, you scored 2 in the 5th, you scored 2 in the 6th, you had a 6-0 lead. You're able to kind of let things breathe a little bit, and so that's what Jay Johnson did. This is just a way you're supposed to take control of weekends. And I thought LSU, from a pitching and defense perspective, did a pretty good job. I mean, yes, you made an error at third base. Yes, there was a pass ball. Milam kicked a double play ball, which he hasn't done literally all season. It wasn't perfect, but I'm not grading this team on perfect. I'll grade last year's team in Omaha on perfect. This team just needed to go out and play solid baseball for the entirety of the weekend. And that was the challenge. It was never about whether or not LSU was good enough to beat South Carolina. LSU's good enough to beat South Carolina. But you put yourself in a position by losing 9 SEC games in a row where you had to get 3 this weekend. And that's a tough way to start the weekend. When you have to get 3, it's a tough way to start the weekend. But they did have to get 3, and they started the weekend, and Schmidt set the tone, and the offense played well. We're going to talk about the offense, especially the young guys, in the next segment here. But the pitching staff, I think, was in defense were really what carried the day for LSU over the weekend. They did what they had to do by throwing it over the plate, not giving South Carolina extra outs. These are the worst 2 statistical fielding teams in the Southeastern Conference. What do you know? South Carolina makes 3 errors yesterday. That doesn't even count a dropped pop-up in foul territory. They kicked it around a little bit. You saw that in their infield defense, which was not good. And LSU made them pay for that, and LSU hit the ball harder than they did for the majority of the weekend. So I thought that LSU did a really good job. I'm not here to just throw bouquets, throw roses all over everything after that weekend because I think South Carolina is awful. But I do think that LSU did what it needed to do to stay alive. You essentially went to the canvas last week in Starkville. You got an uppercut to the chin, and you hit the deck. You could have laid down, and it could have been the knockout punch. If you go out there this weekend, lose 2 out of 3, really even lose 1, you're probably cooked. But if you win all 3, you've gotten back up. You're bloodied, you're battered, you're bruised, you're on the ropes, but you're in the fight. And they're still in the fight after this weekend. They've got a lot of work to do. They probably have to win 4 more games moving forward against 2 really good teams. Georgia's excellent. You got to go to their place. And Florida's got really talented dudes, especially on the mound. So it's going to be tough, but you're in the fight. And you're in the fight mainly because you held South Carolina to 1 run in Game 1, 3 runs in Game 2, and no runs in Game 3. You hold a team to 4 runs over the course of 27 innings. That's quality pitching, no matter what you're talking about from an offensive perspective on the other side. If you do that against Purdue-Fort Wayne in the opener, I think they folded their baseball program after LSU played them last year. But you do that against anybody, 4 runs over a weekend, you got a good chance to go out there and sweep it. And LSU did it over the course of 2 days this weekend. So Tigers win, and pitching staff carried the day. Let's talk about the offense, specifically some of the younger players. Mason Braun had about as impactful a 2-hit weekend as you can possibly have. Plus, I've got some stats on Kader and Beatty, so we'll get into all of that. Our Monday shows are brought to you by Guarantee Health Solutions. We'll come back, talk some offense next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
First American Bank and Trust. First American Bank and Trust. They started this thing up 116 years ago, y'all. So that's a minute ago. You've been doing something for 116 years. You got a pretty good idea of what you're doing. And they've grown. They've grown to 25 locations throughout Southeast Louisiana over 116 years. Do business with a local bank. Do business with a local bank. Why? Because the decisions that are made on your commercial loan are made in Southeast Louisiana. The decisions made on your personal loan are made in Southeast Louisiana. You're not just a line item for somebody in Oakland. You're not a line item for somebody in San Francisco, in Atlanta. You're somebody right here in South Louisiana, somebody that you go to church with on Sunday, somebody whose kids play on the soccer team with your kids. That's the local difference. And don't think, well, it's just a mom and pop shop. No, 25 locations, they've got the resources behind them to help you out. So if you need a commercial loan, need a personal loan, it's First American Bank and Trust. Check them out online, FABT.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Guarantee Health Solutions. Guarantee Health Solutions, guiding healthcare forward. GuaranteeHealth.com.
My friends at Fabry Chevrolet GMC. Find them online at FabryChevrolet.com, FabryChevrolet.com. The entire inventory is right there online at FabryChevrolet.com. So if your lease is about up or you're just thinking it's about time to get behind the wheel of a new ride, maybe you've got a high schooler who's just got that license and looking for a new vehicle, new or pre-owned. Fabry Chevrolet GMC has got you covered. You can see the entire inventory online. If you're looking for a new truck, how about the Chevy Silverados, up to $11,000 off MSRP. GMC Sierras up to $13,000 off MSRP. You can get 0.0 financing on those GMC Sierras as well. So go by and see them. Highway 61 in St. Francisville. Your customer service is going to be second to none. You're going to have a great buying experience. You won't regret it. See my friends in St. Francisville at Fabry Chevrolet GMC. All right, it wasn't necessarily an explosive offensive effort by LSU, but it was just consistent. It was just solid, and it was spearheaded really by the young players. Mason Braun had 2 hits this weekend, and I thought still dictated the terms of the weekend. He's in the leadoff spot, not your traditional leadoff guy, doesn't run great, but he gets on base a ton. And it's that line from Moneyball where they're looking at the Paul DiPodesta character that Jonah Hill plays, and they're like, hey, what do you like about him? Well, he gets on base. And Mason Braun got on base. He got 2 hits, but he scored 4 runs and drove in 3 runs, hit a home run on Saturday, but he also had a sac fly. He walked 6 times from the leadoff spot. That's good work. and that's a freshman understanding his responsibility and putting together good at bat after good at bat after good at bat. Obviously, Omar Cerna is doing the same type thing. He smoked a double into the gap in right center field in the game, the first game on Saturday. He obviously hit the big home run on Sunday. I was in the playground portion of Alec Box Stadium for that one with the little one, but I saw it flying over my head. And he was he's just a heck of a hitter, and he's growing up. And those two guys were awesome at the top of the lineup. When this season is over, we will look back at Cade Arambede's numbers and go, "Wow, that was a phenomenal offensive year." And it kind of cropped up out of nowhere. I feel like he was struggling a little bit, maybe late February, early March. And maybe it was the 4-homer day against Tennessee. Maybe not. I don't know. But somewhere along the line, it clicked for Cade Arambede. Right now, he is hitting .320 with 14 home runs. This weekend, he was 7 for 13. He drove in 4. And I do this thing every January where I talk about guys, where does this player perform relative to his floor and his ceiling? And a lot of LSU's players are going to produce closer to the floor in this season. Certainly your transfers have been at the floor. Stanfield has not been healthy and hasn't really been able to help. Jake Brown got hurt, even though he was performing closer to his ceiling, like he's not helping you now. You've had a lot of guys that have performed closer to the floor. Arambede has certainly performed closer to the ceiling. I saw on Twitter, and I can't verify this, so just take it for what it's worth. It might be 100% true. It might be made up completely, but I feel okay about saying it on the radio. Apparently, he may have the highest OPS in SEC play in the league, and I would believe that. You can have a 4-home run game. He had a monster weekend of this weekend with those 7 hits, and because he's hitting .320 on the season, and he did struggle in the pre-conference, I feel like that may be true. Either way, he's been fantastic. And you look at those 3 guys that I just mentioned, Mason Braun, Omar Cerna, Cade Arambede, those 3 guys are going to be kind of the linchpins of your 2027 lineup. Yes, certainly there are other players. Jack Ruckert had a couple of really good swings over the weekend. You're getting William Patrick some ABs. He dropped down a couple of bunts in the midweek last week, had a nice swing in the game on Sunday. You're getting him some ABs, and they're going to go in the transfer portal, and you're going to try to find some impactful players. I think they'll probably skew to the athletic side. You feel like Braun, Cerna, Arambede provide some thump, some physical presence in the lineup. You need infielders that can move and run and steal bases and play defense, and that's something you're going to go get in the transfer portal. But these guys are doing a really good job as kind of the linchpins of your lineup, and it's not what you thought it would be. You thought it would be Jake Brown at this point. You thought Chris Stanfield would have a huge role in this team. You probably thought that Seth Dardar, you probably thought that Zach York would be huge pieces to the offensive puzzle, and at times they have been, but a lot of times they have not been. These guys are the linchpins, and they're doing a really good job offensively of moving things along. Again, not like a crazy effort. In Game 1 on Saturday, you had 6 runs on 8 hits, and then Game 2, you had 7 runs on 13 hits, so that was a really consistent offensive effort. And then you had 7 runs on 10 hits on Sunday. It wasn't just some like explosion of offense like you saw with, they hit 11 home runs in Knoxville. It wasn't like that. It was just consistent, hard, low contact, and that's what Jay Johnson wants. Jay Johnson wants line drives, hit the ball the other way. Tanner Reeves had a beautiful single into left field in the game on Sunday. Those are the swings that Jay Johnson feels like LSU was not producing during the real struggles of this season early in SEC play. He talked about it. He said they chased 2 irreplaceable players. He was talking about Jared Jones and Ethan Fry, who hit a lot of home runs. But if you remember that Jared Jones and Ethan Fry, and you think about those guys' bat pats, and you think about a lot of the contact those guys made, they hit the ball the other way a ton. Thinking about the regional last year, Ethan Fry's double into the right center field corner is the most famous swing, but he also had a double inside the bag at first base in a huge spot. I think it was in the Dallas Baptist game. Those guys were, and Jared Jones was very comfortable hitting the ball the other way, over the fence and just into the alleyway. The guys that you brought in are not necessarily all field hitters. Like Zach York can be, but Trent Carraway's a pull hitter. Braden Simpson is a pull hitter. Seth Dardar is a pull hitter. You have a lot of guys that chase power, and they do it to the pull side. Jay Johnson wants guys to stay on the baseball, and these guys that I'm talking about here stay on the baseball really well. They fit Jay Johnson's profile, and when you talk about growing into power, that comes from learning to hit the ball the other way and then being more comfortable with that and hitting the ball out of the ballpark the other way. Jared Jones is a great example of that. Ethan Fry is a great example of that as well. Jake Brown grew into that as well. These are the homegrown guys that Jay Johnson wants to hitch his wagon to, and I thought LSU did a really nice job offensively. Again, this is not a South Carolina team that is very talented on the mound. Their starter on Friday is a talented guy. He had really good numbers on the season prior to his last two starts. I talked about him on Friday and some of the starts he had made. It was really, there were some good efforts, but LSU made Phillips work. They got 8 hits on him in 6 innings. He ran his pitch count up to 101, drew 4 walks, also got hit by a pitch, and hung 5 runs on him and got him out of the game. And then once you got Phillips out of the game on Saturday, there's just not a lot of juice in that South Carolina bullpen. There's just not a lot of talent. And so LSU, once they got into that bullpen, I thought did a really good job offensively. This is what it's supposed to look like. But again, and I go back to what I said at the top of the show, which was 25 minutes ago. If you were listening, we appreciate it. If you just jumped in the car and you're catching this segment and missed the first part, every bit of discussion that we have about this weekend has to be framed through the lens of understanding that you're playing one of the worst teams in the league. So knocking these guys around is not necessarily an indication that you've turned a corner. However, if you pair it with last week, where I thought LSU offensively did a great job against a very talented Mississippi State pitching staff, well, now all of a sudden you have a little bit bigger sample size. It's disappointing and puzzling that LSU couldn't produce a little bit more against Texas A&M staff, because that's not a great staff, and you would have liked to gotten one of those games, and you didn't. But in the last 6 SEC games, and you did a nice job in the midweek as well, you have moved the baseball, you have used the other side of the field, you have cut down on your strikeouts, you have drawn some walk, you have produced a little bit of slug, and the good news is a lot of it's coming from young players. I wrote this in my story around the horn for LouisianaSports.net, but LSU's freshmen on the weekend, so all of the freshmen had a really huge impact on the weekend. I'm trying to find it in this story, but I can't. Oh, there it is, the freshmen. 13 hits and 14 runs for the 4 freshmen that were in the lineup all 3 games. Again, 13 hits, 14 runs scored by Braun, Cerna, Patrick, Ruckert. You lump Aaron Beatty in with that, and I've told you how good a season he is having. It's not a fun conversation to have, but hey, they could have a pretty good lineup next year, because we want to talk about this year. And they're doing a good job this year right now. It just took them a while to grow into that. But you do have a promising young nucleus of really 5 offensive players for next year. Patrick's got to develop, and Ruckert the same. But you're seeing real SEC ready bats in Mason Braun and Omar Cerna. Like, Aaron Beatty wasn't ready to do this last year as a freshman. Jake Brown wasn't ready to do this as a freshman. Like, Curriel was, but those are rare guys that are ready to go as freshmen. And with you heard Nick Saban talk about wanting to use struggles as a growing point. You don't like where you sit in league play right now. You don't want to be 9-15 in SEC play. But if you can use that to get young players experience and they grow from it, well, that's helping the program. It's maybe too late for this team. We'll see. They got to go to Athens and figure something out. But the growth for these guys in terms of the program is really good. And I thought LSU was very, very good offensively for 2 days, 3 games at the box over the weekend. And they sweep South Carolina. That's a good thing. You had to have it, and you got it. You were in the fight. So let's leave LSU baseball on the back burner. We'll talk about it again in hour number 2. And we'll move forward. LSU got a monster commit over the weekend for the football and maybe basketball teams. It's a familiar name. We'll talk about it coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Lifetime Roofing. Find them online at lifetimeroofingla.com. That's lifetimeroofingla.com. Lifetime Roofing is so proud, as of January 1st, to be able to offer a lifetime workmanship warranty. Of course, that extends to the workmanship as well as the materials. And those materials are backed by CertainTeed, one of the oldest and most trusted names in building materials. Need a new roof? Lifetime Roofing. Don't know if you need a new roof, but it rained a lot on Friday and you may have a leak. Well, let them go up there and do that inspection. If you need a new roof, they'll let you know. But maybe you just need a repair. They can do it at Lifetime Roofing. Maybe you just need to fortify your roof for storm season. Give it a tune-up. They can do that at Lifetime Roofing as well. And they offer financing 0% for 18 months. They got a team there that can help you out with all of that. Reach out online, lifetimeroofingla.com. It's Lifetime Roofing online at lifetimeroofingla.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Guarantee Health Solutions. Guarantee Health Solutions, guiding healthcare forward. GuaranteeHealth.com.
Had that big rain on Friday. It is grass growing season. You're well aware of that. Won't slow down until Halloween or so. If you need a new zero-turn mower, you should make one call. Make one stop. Gotros Outdoor Power. They have two locations, one on Airline Highway in Baton Rouge, one in Gonzales. You can stop in, get a look at the largest hustler inventory in the state. You can get a look at the largest parts inventory in the state. You can get a look at the National Hustler Dealer of the Year 2 of the last 3 years. That's Gotros Outdoor Power. They can get you behind the wheel of a new zero-turn for under $100 a month. Consider how much you're paying somebody to potentially cut the grass. Cut down your costs pretty significantly. You just do it yourself. You can get that zero-turn mower from any of the big box stores. I get that. What kind of customer service are you going to get? Are they going to bring it to you on a trailer if you don't have one? Probably not. They will at Gotros Outdoor Power. You need parts? They've got trucks on the road every single day. Open 6 days a week, half days on Saturdays. Go by and see them. Airline Highway and in Gonzales. Gotros Outdoor Power. All right, big news for LSU over the weekend. They get a commitment from one of the top players in the nation, one of the top players in the state of Louisiana, and a legacy in Ahmad Hudson, the tight end from Ruston. I'm looking at his On3 profile right now. Rivals has him as the number 3 player in the state. ESPN does as well. 24/7 calls him the number 2 player in the state. But ESPN and 24/7 have him rated as the number 1 tight end in the nation. Something struck me when discussing Ahmad Hudson. This was a couple of months ago when we had Sam Spiegelman on the show. And Sam Spiegelman made the obvious comparison to Trey'Dez Green because Ahmad Hudson is 6'6", in the same ballpark as Trey'Dez Green. They are both elite high school basketball players. Trey'Dez was a really, really good player that ended up playing at LSU for a brief time, as you're well aware. And Ahmad Hudson is the top player in the state of Louisiana on the basketball court. And they're tight ends. So it's just a very obvious comparison to make. But you watch Trey'Dez Green, and you see the things that he does on the football field and the matchup nightmare that he is in the red zone and what he does to smaller defenders. He's just a freak out there, and he's going to be a first-round draft pick next year. And Sam Spiegelman said on this show that Ahmad Hudson, at this point in his football career, is a better version of Trey'Dez Green. That's frightening. That is frightening because Trey'Dez Green is awesome. And I don't know, like, I'm not a scout. I turned on the highlight tape like anybody can, and he doesn't appear to me to be quite the leaper that Trey'Dez is. But I do see those traits that you're looking at: big frame, wide catch radius, ability to run after the catch, ability to go up vertically and make catches. Again, I don't think that he's quite the leaper, but I think he's more of a physical presence than Trey'Dez was. Trey'Dez needed to add a lot of weight. And Ahmad Hudson will need to add weight, but you're talking about a kid that already is 6'6", 245. That's basically what Trey'Dez is now. And Trey'Dez had to gain a bunch of weight when he got to LSU's campus. So this is a huge get. And this is, I want to talk about 2 pieces to this puzzle. This is part of the reason that Lane Kiffin took this job. Because you've got guys in this state that are just game changers. And Lane Kiffin signed 1 5-star player from the state of Mississippi in his time at Ole Miss. I believe Suntarine Perkins was it. You have the ability to do that 3 times, 4 times over in the state of Louisiana almost every year. And you look at the state of Louisiana in this class, and you look at Ahmad Hudson potentially being the top player in the state, but he's one of the top players in the nation. And you look at other guys in this class that LSU is going to try to lock down. They're superstars. Easton Royal is a Texas commitment, but you see him reacting on Twitter, saying, oh, look at this. Like, he's the guy that a lot of people think may end up at Baton Rouge, but that's a 5-star player from the state of Louisiana. You've got Albert Simeon right down the road at Sam Houston, who's looking at Texas A&M and LSU, is one of the top players in this class. You've already gotten the commitment from Peyton Houston, but these are guys that are some of the top 50 players in the country, in some cases better than that are just available to you out of the high school ranks almost every single year. And that's the difference between LSU and Ole Miss. One, you got more talent in this state. It's close, but you have more. And two, you're the only show in town. You don't have to deal with Mississippi State. You don't have to deal with Alabama one state over. You got Texas and Texas A&M over there, and we're talking about Eastern Royal, obviously, but you have the advantage in this state. It's not guaranteed, but you have the advantage to get these guys in the system. And that's what Lane Kiffin's being tasked to do. And you see, obviously, you've gotten the commitment from Ahmad Hudson. You're hopeful to get Albert Simeon in this class, and we'll see what happens with Eastern Royal, but it kind of looks pretty good. And so at that point, like, you could be looking at, some of the top players in the nation that are right here from your own backyard. The other piece to this is obviously the legacy piece. I am old enough to remember Antonio Hudson balling out on the LSU basketball team, was twice the SEC tournament all-tournament team, was a 1,000-point scorer for John Brady here at LSU, just a slashing wing from the early 2000s that was a really good player. And obviously that gives you a leg up trying to get his son in the mix when you've got a dad that played at LSU. Obviously Antonio did, and Ahmad comes in. So this is a huge get, and it's something I think that you can be a pretty seamless torch passing from Trey'Dez Green to Ahmad Hudson into how you're going to be used. You kind of had to. You're not the same when you're going from Mason Taylor to Trey'Dez Green. Like, Mason Taylor and Trey'Dez Green are both wildly productive college players, but they're very different in how they play. You're not going to put Trey'Dez Green next to the tackle very often. And Mason Taylor did a lot of his work from next to the tackle. Now, he split out a lot as well, but you're also not going to line Mason Taylor out in a one-on-one spot with a cornerback and throw him a jump ball. Like, you're not going to do that with him. You do with Trey'Dez Green. The skill sets from Trey'Dez Green and what you do with him in year one in Lane Kiffin's offense are the same thing you can use for Ahmad Hudson. So you're not going to have to try to concoct something offensively. LSU did that with Trey'Dez Green this past year. I mean, I don't recall ever seeing LSU line up, motion Mason Taylor to the one receiver spot on the line of scrimmage, and then throw him a jump ball. I don't think that ever happened. LSU did that with Trey'Dez Green every week. They put that into the offense for Trey'Dez Green. Well, you're going to have that in this offense for Lane Kiffin, and then you can just do the same things that you do with Trey'Dez Green with Ahmad Hudson when he shows up the following year. So I think that's a positive thing. I think that's probably a really good recruiting pitch. And the more good high school players you can get into this program, the better. I think that's still a quality way to help a football program maintain consistency. You're always going to go into the portal. You always have to shop in the portal. You've got to add to the top end of your roster through the transfer portal. But getting guys in through the high school ranks that are here for 3 years, getting the Will Campbells in, getting the Trey'Dez Greens in, getting the DJ Pickett's in, the Harlem Berries in, getting those guys in the program, I always think is a very, very big positive. And that's what you're looking at with Ahmad Hudson. That's what you're looking at with trying to get Eastern Royal in this boat. And you look at LSU's class right now, you've got Jaden Bryant from South Carolina, who's a 5-star on the edge. You've got your quarterback in this class with Pop Houston from Shreveport. You went and got Braylon Calais from Cecilia. He's an athlete in this class that you got committed a couple weeks ago. You've got Amari Stevens in. He's a wide receiver that's got some real ability from South Florida. That's your 5-person commitment class as of right now, and you're just getting into the summer months where you expect that to heat up as LSU has its camps and you get into the 7-on-7 circuit and a lot of things start to happen. So it's a very, very good day for LSU to nab Ahmad Hudson. You've got some really, really talented players in this class, and you've got some other ones in the state that you're trying to lock up. You're off to a good start. And I do expect that Lane Kiffin's not just going to lean so heavily on the transfer portal. You've got the ability to come into LSU and build some through the high school ranks. Not everything. It's silly to think that you're gonna Dabo Sweeney this thing and just go straight high school. We're not taking transfers. I'm not suggesting that in any way. But you do have to get guys in that are here for multiple years, and you feel like Ahmad Hudson's got a chance to be a really good player here at LSU, following in Trey'Dez Green's footsteps when Trey'Dez moves on to the NFL, very likely after this year, and then Hudson fills those shoes the following season in his first year on campus. So great news for LSU, great news for Lane Kiffin. 5 members of the class of 2027, and that's a big one to get a 5-star top 16 player in the country according to the On3 Rivals composite. Number 1 tight end, number 4 player in the state of Louisiana. Ahmad Hudson, Antonio's kid, coming to LSU to play football and maybe some basketball. We'll get Will Wade's thoughts on that. Will Wade doesn't have a really basketball team currently, which we're going to talk about a little bit later as well. Ahmad Hudson might be able to play some basketball when he's here at LSU. I know that he had some real offers. Can I just say this at the end of this whole diatribe? I didn't really have a lot of concern that Nebraska was going to swoop in and take Ahmad Hudson. That's who LSU was kind of competing against. I don't like the Cornhuskers' chances coming into Louisiana and getting guys to go play football in Lincoln. That's all due respect to my Omaha friends. Love Omaha. Love it. Great place to be in June. I don't think Nebraska is going to win a lot of recruiting wars down here in Louisiana. Certainly did not with Ahmad Hudson. So good news for LSU on that front. Let's close out the hour. Come back next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Get that Generac home standby generator installed before storm season. The time to think about that's not when you're sitting in a hot, dark house after the storm's blown through. We've all been there. It's miserable. We've all been there when you're sitting there and hanging out at 5 p.m. on a July Saturday and that nasty storm blows through and you lose power for 3 hours. Give yourself the peace of mind to know that that's not going to happen thanks to the folks at Boudreaux's Electrical Services. They'll come out, they'll look at your house, they'll get you a quote, they'll have a local team come to install, and then they'll monitor it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So you know if they know there's an issue, so that when your Generac home standby generator is ready to spring into action, it's ready to go. That's the Boudreaux's difference. If you've already bought that generator from someone else and you're not getting that customer service or don't know who to go to for a repair, Boudreaux's can give you that Boudreaux's boost. Even if you didn't buy it from them, they'll help you maintain it. It's Boudreaux's Electrical Services. You can find them online at boudreauxelectrical.com, boudreauxelectrical.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Guarantee Health Solutions. Guarantee Health Solutions, guiding healthcare forward. GuaranteeHealth.com.
Monday shows brought to you by Guarantee Health Solutions. You can find them online at GuaranteeHealth.com, GuaranteeHealth.com. And Rachel Fricke runs a show over there at Guarantee Health Solutions. She got into this based on a personal experience. Her mother was diagnosed with cancer, and Rachel was there every step of the way as she received treatment. And Rachel noticed in the course of that treatment that the healthcare system was so impersonal. It was a poor experience. And she has a hospitality background, worked in the hotel industry, and said this can be improved upon. And so that's what she set out to do with Guarantee Health Solutions. So if you're in the healthcare space, whether you're at a hospital, a private clinic, dental office, urgent care, whatever the case may be, and you haven't given a lot of thought to the patient experience, Guarantee Health Solutions can help you with that. It can start with the website. Like, how many clicks to care? How accessible is your website? How digital is your healthcare practice? If not really, well, that's the age we live in. They can help you, the Guarantee Health Solutions. Has your front desk been trained on how to handle patients when they come in the door? How do you make sure that patients come back for their annuals? Guarantee Health Solutions can put practices in place to just make things run more efficiently and more smoothly. They can handle your marketing, handle training your staff, handle your website. All these things are under the purview of what they do over there at Guarantee Health Solutions. If you'd like to learn more about it, check them out online at GuaranteeHealth.com. That's GuaranteeHealth.com. At Guarantee Health Solutions, they are guiding healthcare forward. Had an interesting out of the mouths of babes moment yesterday. If y'all follow me on Twitter, you may have seen this. I tweeted it out from the box yesterday. But I went out to Alec Box and took Myers yesterday. He's 4.5 and put on his LSU baseball jersey and spent most of the day at the playground down the left field line. But I was able to stand up and watch the game from the concourse level and see him while he was on the playground. Only one significant tumble, skinned the knees pretty good, drew a little bit of blood, had about a 3-minute crying session, but the hot dog and french fries cleared that up real quick, so we were good. But he was having a blast, and I knew that I was going to write my story. So in the 7th inning, we went up to the press box, and I started writing my story, and he was good, sat there, ate some popcorn. And I finished my story, and we went down to the press conference. I wasn't going to go, and I was like, I think Myers can be quiet for 10 minutes. I'll hear what Jay says. So we went into the press conference, and I wasn't going to be involved in the press conference. I sat in the very back of the room. It's in a team room where they have their team meetings, and the podium's up front, and everybody in the media sits on the first 2 rows. There are cameras there, and so they're like 5 rows behind that are unoccupied completely. And we sat back, and I said, Myers, do not say a word while the coach is up there talking, and listen to Jay. And I could tell about 10 minutes into Jay talking that Myers was getting a little bit antsy. Wanted to say something. He didn't sit still very well, but he'd done a great job for like 10 minutes. And he tapped me on the shoulder, and I said, okay. So I said, whisper. And I looked down, and he looked back. And in this room, they have like all the SEC regular season championships, all these SEC tournament champions. There are a lot of trophies on this back wall throughout the course of LSU baseball history. And he looks at me with just dead serious, very inquisitive, and he goes, Dad, why do they have so much trophies here? And I almost like busted out laughing in the middle of Jay Johnson's press conference. It's a great question, Myers. The answer is a simple one. They win a lot of baseball games over there at LSU, but it was just a very sincere moment, a very funny moment about a kid that just doesn't have any perspective on anything, but that's a lot of trophies they have there. And I just can't help but think about what that press conference room might look like in College Station, Texas. Might look over there in Oxford, Mississippi.
You know, you got to dust it off a little bit.
I mean, it's pretty empty. There's a lot of empty space over there. So probably not the same question.
So tell me this.
Yes.
Was that one of those moments where you're like, man, this the start of like the championship DVD? Like, man, next thing you know, it's like, damn, Dad, remember I was asking you all the trophies, and now I'm winning the trophy for LSU.
I don't think that's gonna happen. But no, it was great. Like Jay wrapped his press conference, and he said, "Does anybody have anything else?" And nobody answered. And then he was walking back to do the radio hit with Bill Frank as he's on the post-game show after he does. And so the cameras were off. It was out of the setting. And actually, he was walking past, and I said, Coach, Myers actually did have a question. He asked me, why do y'all have so many trophies?
Yeah.
And he said, well, how old are you? And Myers, I go, he's 4.5. Myers gets shy around strangers. He had no idea who he was talking to. And he goes, he looked at me and he goes, out of all the 4.5-year-olds in the world, I trust that you will figure that out more than most. I was like, yeah, that's probably true. You will probably figure it out pretty quickly. So it was a great day at the box yesterday. Myers was distraught that a foul ball. He saw a foul ball, but he was 75, 80 feet from it, and he did not get it. That was a devastating blow for him. And then he was convinced that he needed to go stand in that exact spot because the ball would come back. Well, that's not really how foul balls work. In fact, it's unlikely to come right there again.
Oh, trust me. My
it was
foul
a good
ball
day.
story is terrible.
What you got?
The one time I went to the MLB game, I went to the Rockies game, man, and I was like, man, it'll be a blessing if I get a foul ball. Well, God willing, a foul ball actually comes my way. I don't have a glove or nothing. And I swear, I tried to one-handed. I tried to be so cool and one-handed. Hits my hand, bings on the ground. Some little girl picks it up. Now I can't wrestle the little girl over the foul ball. You know, so
you will be on the internet for a long time if you do that.
You just got to chalk it up, hands is up. I was like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I just dropped my first foul ball.
I've been to a lot of games in my day. I've never even been that close to a foul ball, I don't think.
Well, you be in the press box.
I mean, yeah, but I've watched a lot of games not in the press box.
Yeah.
I mean, I went to I didn't miss many games as a student for 5 years, and I don't recall ever being even close to getting a ball.
Not even a home run?
No, because that's where I would have sat. I mean, in the new box. They moved to the new box when I was a junior.
Yes.
And so I had 2 seasons in the old box and then 2 seasons in the new box. The student section in the new box at that time was in fair territory down the right field line. I think they do some of that now, and I think, is there some of it in foul territory too? Cassie, you used to sit there last year.
No, that's like more, they sell those seats.
Okay, so it's all, so that's
it's just
same
like
deal.
The half that's in play.
In play, yeah. So I mean, no, I don't recall ever even being close to getting a baseball.
That's crazy. You go to a lot of baseball games.
I've been to a lot of baseball games, but the Myers man was a little devastated about that. But he just wanted to know, why do they have so much trophies? And they have so much trophies because they win a lot. I got a lot of people. Got a lot of interactions on Twitter, but it was good. I'll say this, I don't mean to harp on it because I did a segment on this a week ago. The sitting situation out there, we were down the left field line in some seats I got yesterday. And the bleacher seating is just not super comfortable. It's just not. There is not a single bleacher at Duty Noble Field. Not one anywhere. The entire grandstand is chair back. So is Alex Box. And then they have berms, and then they've got the outfield area where everybody's basically standing up grilling. It's like there is no bleacher anywhere. And those bleachers in February are freezing cold.
Yeah.
And by the time you get to now,
Sizzling.
it's hot. You get there for a regional, it's 100 degrees outside. Like it's just not super comfortable. And I just don't think they put a ton of thought in that. I believe those bleachers in left field came from the old box. I think they just moved them down the street. And like South Carolina's got real seats in fair territory. Like I've never been to that ballpark. But I mean, you got at Arkansas, you've got the berm in the outfield where you just sit a lot of people pretty comfortably. It's just not a super comfortable deal. We only sat in the seats for 2 innings because he wanted to go play on the playground, which was fine with me. And so I stood up a lot of the game. Just not a great.
But you're like, this not it.
It's not a great comfortable spot. I mean, I would prefer it out there than sit in the press box. I don't love the press box, but
Oh, you can't see too far.
no, I see fine. I just would rather drink a cold beer and be out where I can clap. Like
Amongst the people, man of the people.
Is what it is. I mean, I've only like really expressed emotion in the football press box once when Kyron caught the touchdown to beat Ole Miss. Me and Big Fave gave a huge hug.
Jumped out my
that was in overtime. But it's just I'm not built for the press box. Unfortunately, I'm going to be there the rest of my life. So it is what it is. But I prefer to be out there drinking a cold pop and clapping.
You're a man of the people. That's what happens.
It's true. All right, that's it for hour number 1. Brought to you by Guarantee Health Solutions every single Monday. If you missed any of the first hour, 30 minutes on baseball. Then we talked a little bit about Ahmad Hudson, who committed to LSU over the weekend. Gave us some thoughts on that. You can find that at Hunt on LSU on YouTube. Check our show out on wherever you find your podcast, Hunt Palmer Show. Like, subscribe, rate, review. We always appreciate you all for interacting with us that way. We got a lot to do in hour number 2 as well. Ross has got a really good piece up at LouisianaSports.net on the Saints' improvements in the offseason. We'll hit on a little bit of that. And where does the baseball team go from here? We'll do a little bit of a resume look. Not super in-depth, but we'll get into that coming up in 20 minutes. We'll pause right now for SportsCenter. We'll get your national headlines back with hour number 2. It's a Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com, HighlandIG.com. Look, they can help you out with your group and employee benefits. If you're a business owner that is just not thrilled with the renewal process that you've had with your benefits, with your health care, with your dental, with your vision, you feel like the premiums are skyrocketing, or you feel like you're not getting the coverage for your employees, let the Highland Insurance Group take a look. They're an independent broker, which means they've got contract with dozens of carriers. They may be able to get you a better option for your group and employee benefits. Obviously, that's a big, big deal when you go out in the hiring market. Obviously, it's a big, big deal when you're talking about retaining some of your really talented people, some of your most important cogs in your business. If your benefits renewal has not been good, or you feel like it may be bad moving forward, a second set of eyes is never a bad thing. Jonathan Carbo and his team at the Highland Insurance Group are happy to help you out with that. They're based here in Baton Rouge. They can help you out statewide. Check them out online at HighlandIG.com. It's the Highland Insurance Group online at HighlandIG.com.